Welcome to Dungeon Master Talk, the podcast for Dungeon Masters by Dungeon Masters. I am Dungeon Master Kyle, and with me today, as always, is...
Dungeon Master Shay. How are you, Kyle?
Good. How about you, Shay?
Doing pretty good. We're still in the same room, man.
Still the exact same room on the exact same night.
The only difference is the dishwasher's running. So in case you guys hear any weird noises, we're still not in the basement. We are still in the dining room.
Yep.
We are still in the same room because we decided to actually work our schedules out to where we could actually be in person to do the season 2 finale.
Wah, 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 wah. But in between episodes, I decided to load the dishwasher just so that Shay would have one final headache on his editing. Also, I didn't think about it, and it gave me peace of mind to load the dishwasher.
I mean, really, he had to sit and talk with me for an hour, and then he's like, "Nope, I have to decompress with the dishwasher for a minute." So
I got up to get a drink, and I saw the sink, and I was like, "I can't do this."
This is true, y'all. I literally watched him grab the lemonade and pour himself a drink, and then he sat there and he's drinking it for a second. He's like, "I need to do dishes," and so he literally just did dishes. And I'm like, I am so proud of you because doing dishes on your own is amazing, and you should be commended, and your wife is happy because you did that. So,
yep, it's my chore, so I try to handle that. She cooks, I clean.
That works.
Yep.
Guys, this is the end.
Yeah, we have a great episode planned for you guys full of dishwasher talk.
This time on Dishwasher Talk.
Yeah, what you guys don't know is this was actually a long con to get you guys to listen to me talk about my dishwasher and what I do and don't love about it. It's all been a metaphor this entire time.
Yes.
The spell casting, the campaign, it's all been an allegory.
And all of the enemies were just stuff that didn't get unstuck from the plates. That's
Exactly.
really that's really where all they came from.
If you go back and listen, no, there's not been a plot.
There has been a plot
Yes.
in our campaign
Not this plot though.
of
That
season
plot.
2, the Electric Boogaloo,
Yep.
and we should probably get to that here in a second. As far as I know, we should have at least I'm planning on having at least one game update in September. So to end the season, I will definitely, there's a 99.8756% chance of a maybe that it will happen.
Yep.
But if it doesn't, then we will go from there and figure that out. And I think you guys are probably working on a time in September for your group as well.
We will for sure be playing in August. We have for the first time in many, many, many moons, so many moons, unanimously a weekend work. We're not, unless something comes up, I'm not going to have an absent member. So that's awesome. So hopefully if one does come up, it's this one and we're still fire. September is a high hopeful that we have one before this episode recording has to be locked and loaded. So hopefully we'll have a second update or a longer update that I can hit the episode with.
Hey listeners, DM Shay here. Due to unforeseen circumstances in the last month or so while we were trying to get this episode ready to record, unfortunately we were not able to have our last session before the season finale. So unfortunately, we will not have any game updates this week. We do apologize for that. I will try to goat Kyle into giving updates as we can on our social media pages, with this being the season finale for the time being. And if I get any game updates, once we get kind of to a point where we can play again, I will definitely make sure that you guys are up in the know on that. And like I said, we will put that on our social media pages, and the DMT social medias is what I mean in that respect. So we will put those there, and we will keep you updated. But again, we apologize for not being able to have that last session before the season finale. And now back to the show. Exactly. And then we will also, so in this episode, we are going to kind of land the campaign, at least for a moment.
Yes.
We're not going to give you the entire ending of how it goes, but we are going to at least walk you through the second tier.
Beat.
Yeah, the big story beat of the second tier in our campaign.
Yep.
Which, let's see, fractured. Yes.
We actually have the cult pulled up here. So it's the shattered, fractured, splintered, cracked.
In reverse order.
Yep. So yeah, shattered is the highest level. So cracked was that low level, then shattered, fractured.
Basically, the higher up you go, the more broken you are. So
yes. I think my note has it flipped, so I'm sorry about that,
Oh,
listeners.
no.
All the way through, what we were at least consistent that I always had it upside down, which is why Shay's here, and Shay will be instrumental in making sure it remains right.
I make no promises, but I will do my best.
But listeners, before we dive in, as been the theme for us, we just want to thank you guys again for taking this time to listen to us. This means the world to Shay and I, and again, this is going to be the big story beats. We still love hearing from you guys. If you have thoughts on this campaign, this pre-built module, thoughts of how you would tease this out, ideas of a campaign you're writing, that you're running, questions about what we did or did not cover on this build throughout this season, please let us know about them at dungeonmastertalk@gmail.com. You can also hit us up on X, formerly known as Twitter, and on Instagram at DMT the podcast. You can also use that hashtag Dungeon Master Talk. And then you can hit us up on Facebook at the Dungeon Master Talk Facebook page. Also now on YouTube, so don't feel shy about leaving comments, hitting us up on the community page there. We do look to try to flesh that out a little bit more someday in the future. Also, at the end of this episode, we will have the What's Next for Dungeon Master Talk, similar to what we did a year ago, Shay.
Was it a year ago?
It feels like yesterday, also feels like 10 years ago.
Because we ended in April of 23.
Yes.
And then we took May off, and then we came back in June.
Yep. So more than a year.
Yeah.
So wow,
look at us.
Season 2 in calendar time was longer than season 1, but we also went monthly.
Yeah, we went from bi-weekly to monthly, so that played a part in that as well. Okay, so let's dive in. Last time on Dungeon Master Talk.
Dun dun. Wait, no.
That's Law and Order.
Yeah, we definitely do not have the rights to that.
Dun, dun, dun,
No, we don't have the
I
rights.
know.
Shit. No. What a ending.
Oh yeah.
So last time the
Please don't
things
sue us.
happened and the stuff did too.
Things did happen, and then some stuff and some other things happened, and finally things and stuff did happen. So the things and stuff that did happen, we talked about how the party had a couple of errands to run. They went to the Sacred Tome, and they were able to find a book after they had to take out a Mind Flare to get it.
Mind Flare.
Mind Flare.
I feel like Mind Flare should just have a built-in theme song.
Mind Flare, Mind
Mind
Flare,
Flare,
Mind Flare. Talking about Mind Flare.
Mind Flares.
And that's about the extent of our musical career.
Yep. So, listeners, I'm sorry. I do apologize that we subjugated you to my singing.
And the Temptations, we really do apologize. We'll get better eventually.
You did deserve a better pay.
Yes, you did. So we talked about that, and we talked about Artie's place. We talked about the Steeled Stone, the forge in which Artie was rescued from.
Yep.
But before they could leave, he needed to fix the book that the Mind Flare had been destroying over time that they had rescued from the library. So that's where we pick up. Now we got to figure out where this meeting place is, because that was the third part of our arc in this thing. We had the 3 different places for the Splintered to potentially be, and how this was going to culminate to a head at one point. So, Kyle,
Yes.
they have just fixed the book, and the place just collapsed. So it's going to take some time to get the forge back up and running at some point.
Yep.
Where do we go from here?
So I think what I want to do here is, because it feels like everything's coming to a head.
Shoulders, knees, and toes.
Yeah, but by our hierarchy, this is really actually only halfway.
Right.
And so what I want to do here is, a thing I really like to do in the campaigns that I run is have this be like the abrupt shift.
Okay.
I think this is the point where the tease of Mayma being the big bad is no longer a tease. In my mind, it starts to become a very real deal.
So what does that look like? Because we kind of talked about this a little bit off air, but we'll go ahead and bring this conversation on air a little bit. Mama at this point has kind of lost her edge of being able to kind of keep her true identity under wraps.
Yep.
While she hasn't admitted to not actually being who she said she was, she's been a lot more irritable, like more than usual. And
Yeah.
by when I say usual, I mean like the town revered her as like this charming, nice,
But decisive.
she was a firm leader, but she was very like cool, calm, and collected.
She was seen as fair, leading in the right
Yeah.
direction. Now it's been Iron Fist.
Yes.
It's her way or the highway. It's been martial law, and it's been miserable.
And really, this shift happened within basically about a month and a half, 2 months probably.
Yep. As she saw her plan moving forward and this becoming a reality, but also at the same time, the biggest wrench, the party being involved. And the party's now building those relationships with the town folk. Yep. They have someone else that they're praising, and it's something she is not outright in charge of. She has not to date been able to get full command of the party. What I think would be the biggest shock moment for this reveal of where the location is I think like the book that they got, I think it contains where, unless we already said that that's on a separate point. I do not have in my notes.
No, as far as I know, I think we just said the book had to be mended before we could get any information out of it, from what I remember.
And I think like it can reveal the cipher for which is going to reveal the location. And we can gamify that a little bit in the actual module. We won't spend the time here.
Right.
I think the shock point on the reveal of where is way back at the town, but not in the town. We have the mine very close nearby. That's really the source of
to
like
the north.
why here. Yep. I think it's above the mine, and it's because like we've been here before, and that's what's going to be the shock factor of it. Is it's going back. Everything else about this adventure was someplace new, but now it's we're going back home. And so that's immediately going to be like, why here?
I think we should call it Ridge Break.
Ooh,
Ridge Break Mountains.
I like that.
And it's got to be at the highest peak.
Yes. I mean, everything cool like this,
Yes.
because we're going to feel like we're coming to the climax. So
Why not put it on a mountain?
Yes. And of course, like we know making this, it's a false finish, but the party shouldn't feel that. The party should feel that they are coming to the head. And so they might believe like this is it. And I think that DM's playing this, you should allow that feeling and really even like play into that feeling of like we're coming to the culmination point. And what I'm imagining is leading up to this, because this isn't going to be we go straight from the fort.
Correct.
There's going to be an information gathering. We're going to come back to the town. And what I think would be amazing is if it's not that smooth path of, all right, we have the book and we know it's here. I think it's, all right, they've mended the book. They got the information out of it to be able to discover the ending point. They're going to take the book back to Maymaw, which was their charge. But before they even get out of the rubble of the forge, they're attacked.
I had a thought, but I'll let you finish this. Go ahead. Go ahead and finish your thought.
So my thought is like this attack is they're already beat down. They've had back-to-back big fights. And so this fight is not meant to be winnable, but it's not meant to kill them. Knockouts are what's happening here.
Right.
Because while the party is a problem for Maymaw, I think at this point, from her perspective, it's once I have the book, they're nothing. And I want the pleasure of taking them out myself once they're nothing. And so that's her motivation of not having him finished here. But it's taking them out, get the book, and then when they come to and get back to the village, she's gone. It's mass chaos. And so they're going to have to spend some time riding the town and then get to this destination point atop the mountain to stop whatever it is going to be. That we can leave hints along the way that's going to be Maymaw up there, but I think they need to be subtle.
Yeah, agreed.
And then when they get to that mountaintop, it's revealed it's Maymaw. She's holding the ritual to resummon her god, and there can be others here from the fractured, but so that this would be a big event.
Or splintered. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I keep getting it from the splintered. I again have this flip.
Back buttwards.
Yes, from the splintered. But then she will be conducting the ritual, and their job is going to be to end the ritual. Don't let her summon back this god, because this is the very event that like destroyed the world once. So don't let it happen. Stop the save the world level scenario. But Shay, what was your idea here?
So the other thought I had was, okay, so Maymaw needs the book to do the ritual, right?
Yes,
The players don't know that.
correct.
The book contains coordinates, and that's literally all it means. Maymaw, having grown up in this tradition, this ideology, right, of Broken Divine,
Yep.
she knows she already has this ritual. She's been sitting on this ritual for 100 years, give or take.
Probably, if not more.
Oh wait, I don't know if she was that old, because I think she's human.
Oh yeah,
So-
but like it's maybe been passed down.
40, 50 years, basically, call it.
Her whole life this is like
Yeah.
her purpose.
And so, like, yeah, she's made this her purpose. So the party brings the book back to Mama, and all it is coordinates.
Yep.
That's all it is.
And
To
so I
them,
think,
it means nothing. To her, it means everything.
yeah, so maybe it's like they bring it back, and at first she even downplays it.
Yes.
Like
Hardcore downplays it,
she sends them on another mission.
which buys her time to get up to the coordinates.
Yep. And upon the return, that's when she's gone, and she went in the dead of night.
Yep.
It was not an exit. She
Nope.
didn't announce it.
She wasn't captured like she was in the beginning.
Yep. It's this. She was there. She was doing her ruling with an iron fist. And so when talking to the townsfolk about it, it's, well, she wasn't the way she had been,
Yeah.
but she's like, and they're freaking out because she's gone again. And last time she was gone, they,
Lost their mind.
yeah, and they moved to the best of their abilities, heaven and earth, to retrieve her. But this time there's no evidence.
Mm-hmm.
There's no trail to track. There's no person to follow. There's no horse to run down.
Mm-hmm.
But the party would know what the coordinates were.
Mm-hmm.
What other hint would we have them to chase that coordinates? Like, is it just like go there because she might be there? But then again, if she's downplaying it,
If she's downplaying, yeah, nobody's going to take her seriously. So that's going to be like the grand reveal. The other coordinate that could be in the book is she needs 4 to 5 able-bodied characters or NPCs to be able to channel this
Yes.
power out, basically to bring the deity back, or the lich back. So it's like, basically, if the party does stumble upon her or whatever she's doing, they are captured.
Yep.
Hardcore captured, like blackout captured. And when they wake up, they are in that specific coordinated spot so that the ritual can begin.
Yeah.
The ritual does not start till they get up there.
Yep. I think that's the part we gamify.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that moment when you're playing Batman Arkham Knight or
Arkham Asylum.
yeah, but it's like that call to that moment where you're going to go fight the Joker in Arkham City. The Scarecrow, it's like, well, it happens when you get there. The game says it's at a time, but it's when you.
Yeah.
So that's what we'll do here. Is it's when you get there. Either you get there consciously or you're unconscious brought there, but it happens either way. I think if they get there consciously, we've introduced several major characters along the way, and we've had a couple vanished characters. Maybe like in this, because Artie, a thought that I had is that Artie was hurt in the collapse of the forge.
Yes. So he could be getting medical attention in Silver Forge.
Well, and maybe when Maymaw vanished, he did too. If there's not, so like, I think in this module we put the 2 pathways. Like her first pick is the party because they've been the problem, and so taking them out through this is going to bring her great satisfaction.
I could buy that.
But it's if like that doesn't work, the party foils it, or the party makes a choice that they're not going to be there for it. We have the other NPCs that the party should have an attachment to. This would also be that variance for replayability, or ability to lead it more than one time and not have the same game.
You know, I thought about this too. What if in the library, this just kind of hit me, so I apologize for not saying this in the that episode, but what if in the library they find pieces to potentially hidden divergences, like hidden magic items that could be anti-deity based, I guess, if you, or like anti-lich.
Yep.
But like obviously, like you're not going to just like come out and say these are anti-lich weapons. Like it would be like just a really high-powered sword, shield, armor, whatever you want to call it, but like have enough for the players, like each player, to go and round up as they're kind of going around trying to find the book, trying to go find Artie's place, like as they're doing other little things.
Yeah, my whole thought so you're really hitting on what my kind of plan was for the second half of this. So,
whoops.
No, and that's fine. That's why this is a discussion. Because my thought was either way, whether or not the party's kidnapped up there or they're brought up there, I wanted Artie to be involved in that final moment. Yes. So like maybe either way he's up there too. Because what my thought is Artie has been alive long enough, or has an knowledge passed down to him, that he knows that this is what destroyed the world.
Yep.
So my thought is we have this fight, and it's Maymaw, and it's revealed that she is ZQ. She is the one behind the scenes. And we have this big fight. It should be hard. This should be by far the hardest fight.
This is deadly.
Yeah.
This is straight up deadly.
Yep. This is a moment, DMs, where if your party loses, it's okay that the campaign ended bad.
Yep.
Unfortunate when they do that. I never root for that, but also like let it happen.
Honestly, I would recommend, and we might even do this for you, actually make some characters as like as splintered body, like members of the splinter, like actually build a barbarian, build a rogue, build a ranger, like however you want to flesh that group out that actually makes this fight an actual fight.
Yep.
And give them kind of a taste of what they've been dealing out.
Yeah, and Mayma herself is going to have a lot of power if they get engaged with her. But the whole point is to, if the party is successful, what they have done is they've disrupted the ritual. And what that is going to do, if they're successful, is it's going to appear to kill Mayma.
Mm-hmm.
It's not actually.
No.
But it's going to appear to have.
Yep.
That's the false ending that I'm really looking for here. And I want that false ending to really last like game time, not real time, obviously, because it doesn't work to tell your players that they were successful and then call them back.
A few months later.
Yes. And so like maybe 2 months or 3 months exactly to the day.
Okay.
They're in the town. The town is healing. They have rolled back some of the martial law. Well, not some, but all the martial law. We're thriving again. We've established new leadership that's not tied to Mayma's lineage.
Mm-hmm.
And Artie has recovered mostly from his injuries, and looking up at the highest peak, suddenly clouds converge. The sky goes unnaturally black, and you hear a cackling laughter of Mayma's voice, but mixed with another voice down from the mountaintop. And it's revealing that even though they disrupted the ritual, they did not fully stop the resurrection of this deity.
Mm-hmm.
It's not full form, and it's not what Mayma's dreams were.
No, because she wanted to actually see this happen, but she may not be able to.
Yep. And so my thought is then what happens is the whole thing up to this point, the subtle underplot is building this town.
Mm-hmm.
And every quest that we've done has been to improve the town and build the town and get connections with people in the And so this Lich's resurrection, it's sapping the life force of the town to complete its resurrection. And so starting with this moment, everything for the town is going south.
Yep.
People are losing energy, people are dying, people are growing sick.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter if you try to leave. You're tied to it, and it is targeted, very targeted at the town. Not the party, the town. Because it is Mayma's revenge, her dying wish. She's taking away the very thing that the party has fought for this whole time.
Yep.
To bring about what she has fought for the whole time. And Artie, he's key to this, because then he's going to send them on the quest to, we need to kill the god again. But this time we need to not break the world when we do it.
Mm-hmm.
So along the way, I think what we need to build in when we actually map this out is, like you were saying, hints to stuff.
Yeah.
But now he's going to outright say, like, we need to go here and get these things.
So Artie's known this the whole time then.
I think he knows, maybe it's even revealed that he worked on the original weapon.
Oh, okay.
So that's why he knows what needs to be done right this time.
Oh, okay.
I think what kind of in my mind is the thing that made it work like last time but bad is we channeled the power of one virtuous individual. It wasn't enough.
Yeah.
So now it's, we need to channel the power of everyone that we've worked with to this point. Like literally it's going to take the whole town.
Okay.
It's like, yes, party, you're the leads of this, you're the ones on 6, and you need to hurry. Time's of the essence, because if there's not enough of us, then this won't succeed.
I almost wonder if it would be better use to bring the library back into this.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it's one of those things, like, he has a basic idea of what had happened,
Yep.
but how to fix it, he would have to look it up. Like, he would have to look up different ways of, like, god fights. How would a god die?
How common do you think god fights were in this world?
Well,
Welcome to Friday Night God Fight. I do think definitely a research component, because I don't want it to be like, all right, the first half took you 16 sessions and the next half takes you 6. Like,
no.
I think it should feel, I really want it to feel like part 1, part 2.
Yes.
So I do think it is a journey. It's a journey to collect. It's a journey to learn. And it should be wrought with success and failure.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some stuff that he's going to have them go after that's to mitigate, to buy more time.
Yes.
We need this because we need to stave off the power. We need to stave off the drain. We need to improve the health.
Mm-hmm.
So like now it's like before we were building the town as we were bringing in people, we're making it sustainable. Now we're saving it.
Yeah.
Because it's literally at risk. And this is, if we fail here, this god that wants chaos, unorganization, it is going to take over the world.
Yeah.
If we succeed here, then civilization is now possible again. And that is literally the stakes here, is the ability to have life as we know it.
I think because you had mentioned Mama's family had gotten basically run off, right?
Yep.
I wonder if they have a part to play in this coming around as well.
I want there to be a core group that was like the ones we mentioned before, her daughter and her son, that were like the law enforcement.
Yeah.
That I think I want them on her side.
Oh, okay.
But then, like we talked about the good and the bad granddaughters.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'd be a great twist if even the bad granddaughter was on the good side. There's a minor story thread we can do there of like her trying to earn back the town and the party's trust.
Yeah, because she's been straddling the fence for the most part the whole time anyway.
I think like could be a powerful moment, or like a reveal that her life force is being drained.
Mm.
That's like she's not only is she not on Mayma's side, but she's like Mayma's targeted her.
Yeah.
And I think that's a reveal that maybe she was never loyal at all the entire time, and she was always trying to undermine it.
Which that would make more sense because, like, since the son and daughter were the jury and the prison guards, I mean, that would make more sense that they're carrying out what she's wanting to do, like as an iron fist ruler. Like they're really enforcing like heavy-handed punishments, heavy fines, and
it's how we could explain the sudden vanishment of prisoners.
Yep.
Why the guards posts and whatever plan where he's had to keep people was always insufficient in Mayma's ultimate plan's favor.
Yep.
It's because literally at their core they're flawed. We couldn't make a plan that wouldn't be known because the mandate was always to work with these people.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's how she was able to manipulate it all, because even when she wasn't in the room for the planning, she was in the room for the planning.
Through one of her offspring, yeah.
Yep. And so, and then like this is how we work our way up to the final ladder. And I think it is,
dun, dun, dun.
Before it was this more, it's like where the party, the kind of like the campaign feel in my mind should shift with this between 1 and 2, where part 1, it's search and discovery and return for building this. Now it's this race against the clock. We don't always return on a mission directly back. It's going to be chain stuff, like we're going to go here, get this, go here, assemble this. Then, and like first it's going to be like, we need to get the knowledge. Then it's going to be go do this. And I think at this point, Artie is just constantly with the party.
Yeah.
And it, like they know that they have to get back to the city. Oh, sorry, the town, whatever we want to refer to it as at this point.
Yeah, I mean it's continually growing. So I mean we could say it grew enough to offset, make sure it's a town.
And I think the alliances with the traveling tribes now also become important, because it's like we need to get them to come in. We need to get them to stop traveling, because the more life forms that are in the town, the longer it's going to stave off destroying the town. And so,
or they could be in favor of, or maybe they're in favor of helping you search out for the items that you need, keep an eye out for it.
Or like maybe it's like this item that Artie now needs, he's like, I just know that this tribe knows where it is. They either have it with them,
or they've heard of it, or and
he's like, that's as far as I know about it. And that's where it's still a journey.
Mm-hmm.
But my thought is like, to put it into perspective of a big fantasy novel that most of us have probably read, little known one, Lord of the Rings.
What? No, I never heard of it.
This is now we're on our journey to go destroy the ring, whereas like this entire time up to this point we were just trying to get to Riverdale.
Yeah.
Like now we actually know the plot. And that really is the tonal shift that I want to kind of go for.
Okay.
On this. And then I think along the way the major fight points is the son, the daughter, and then Mayma Part 2, which is really not, and that's the final fight, and it's not actually against Mayma. Maybe the whole time we're expecting, like, the belief is that it's going to be Mayma resurrected, or she wasn't dead the whole time.
Right.
We get there, and it's not Mayma.
It's definitely not Mayma.
And it's very obviously not, like, I think there's aspects of her there, because she is the channel through which the deity is reforming. It's clearly not her, it's this lich resurrecting through her. And I think the obvious point at that point is that like Mayma's already gone.
Right.
That's then the new absolute hardest fight in the campaign. Now we should have progressed at least another 3 levels, I think, from the last one. So we're going to have more fun. And then that's what I'm thinking for this fight. What I have in mind is that really for the party, it's still an insurmountable fight. Like, you can deal damage, you can hurt it, but you can't stop it. And that's where this weapon that we've been assembling this entire time, or this channel, I think it's really not a weapon. It's not going to be like the Power Rangers super gun that they assemble.
You talking about the Megazord one or the one before that?
Yes. I think it's neither of those. I think what it is, it's a channel through which the life energy of people of the town and all the surrounding tribes that are loyal in is going to get channeled through to then embody the party to deliver final.
Okay.
And that way the party still gets the satisfaction of like, we did it.
Yep.
And I think that's key for whenever you have a finale.
Oh yeah.
It's like include the world, include those under threads, because it's like this is going to be as successful. Or my kind of thought is how long we have to stave off before this empowerment come is going to be affected by the strength of the bonds that they came along the way, and so we'll have to include a way to measure that.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Kind of gamify that, and that's going to be how good part 1 went for the party is really going to play into how equipped they are for part 2. Did they build these bonds, or are they going to have to build them now?
Or are they going to have to figure it out on their own?
Yes.
How to actually build this super weapon or whatever you want.
Yep. It does give a little flexibility into DMs playing this. Again, to come, like, I think a fun part about modules is like, yes, you play them, you know the thread, you know the plot, but when you play them with different groups or different party alignment configurations, your outcomes are drastically different. And I think especially this one, that will be true, because if you play like obviously we're going to build this for a good alignment party,
right?
But if you then rerun this with an evil alignment party, like your outcome is so drastically different.
Oh yeah.
Or if you even run it with a neutral, so they're not good at building those bonds with the other tribes, with members in the town, then this part 2 is so much harder. If the town's not working with you, if you're having to now earn their trust at this
versus way back when.
Yes. And so I think like that's why the character sheets that we'll build out, the alignments are all going to be good, and like the prompts for the characters are going to be ones that
probably more towards the good alignment.
Yeah, and more towards you having pre-built bonds that you can build on as you're working through. So listeners, we, of course, did not go through every interaction that would be in the module. There's a lot of side quests that we decided for the sake of the season and not having this last another year. Especially with the way that I can draw on about NPC conversations, to let that be stuff that we added in. Also allowing there to be kind of a surprise when we get this. But that's really what I'm kind of hinting at now is the additional stuff that we didn't cover through this for part 1. And then, of course, part 2, we're glossing over 2 major fights at minimum and a couple dungeon crawls and opportunities for some good puzzles. So like, but again, we also felt like even though this is a tonal shift, our feeling is we showed that with part 1, and we didn't want to make you guys listen to us go through very similar discussions again.
Agreed. And for the sake of brevity, like I understand that normally, I mean, some people are really gifted in putting together a campaign within a day, which is great. We were trying to, like, especially with newer DMs in mind, like really kind of think through like the whole process of like from start to finish, like who are your protagonists, who are your antagonists, who are the support cast, who is going to be your go-to person, and all of the literary terms that we learned in junior high school and now have to come back and use again.
It was relevant.
It was.
Teachers, we owe you apologies.
We love you.
Yep. So now, listeners, I think what would be really fun. So we've hit the major plot threads, of course. If you were hoping for us to say, like, here's the date that the module will be available,
it'll be that day.
Yes.
Whatever that day. No, it probably won't.
So we do want to quickly, just before we lead you on to that, because we don't want to.
Right.
we want to let it know that it's going to take us a considerable amount of time to get to that. So Shay and I really did treat this as like we wanted to approach this as we went in the podcast, so that really focusing on the first time DMs that maybe have never built a world or campaign. And that's why experienced listeners, it may have at times felt like, why are they still on this? That was intentional with this. So that module plan on putting that together, but it'll be some.
Yep.
This was not really like, that was going to be a fun, happy side effect of this, not the
right.
But I think what would be fun now, Shay, is if we kind of both talk about how the process we relayed out over the course of this last year and some change differs from the process that we take approaching our campaigns now, because we each do this in a much smaller amount of time, and we don't plan out near as heavy detail, because we did start talking about this in the form of making a module.
Yep.
Whereas like our campaigns, we both talk about, we plan major story beats. Yep. The path to there we leave to the players. So How do you think your method most differs from what we laid out over the course of the last year?
To be honest with you, I don't think it really changes that much, to be honest with you. The only thing that I probably would do more of is try to get into the history of the world and any like lore that would go into it. And the reason I do that is because I want to give that to the players first, so that way they can build a backstory and send it to me, and then I will take their backstory and thread it through the history of my world.
Yep.
So that way it can be a cohesive unit. As a side note, when my current campaign ends, I am looking to put season 2 in podcast form, so that might be something eventually down the road. We are a little ways from that, listeners, so that again will probably come out at a later date, and then you get to meet my players, which I am super excited about.
I'm excited.
But that being said, like I like to do a lore dump or a history dump first.
Yep.
Get the players' backstories and then weave it through. And then at that point I will start making creative hints as to like and not necessarily it's like it's your turn, it's your turn, it's your turn, it's your turn. I'll kind of like let their options kind of just naturally manifest in a way that they go, okay, who do we need to deal with first before they either try to take us out or end the world as we know it?
Yep.
And then at that point, they can say, okay, we've dealt with that one. Now what do we need to deal with? Like, kind of like give them, it's almost like a Grand Theft Auto sandbox kind of thing where like you get to choose your adventure and the way that you choose your adventure kind of will shape the world as it goes. So it's kind of a help me help you situation. Past that, really, I don't think I would have done that much different. You know, I would start after I get the lore done, maybe have a couple of cities, prominent cities that they would know from their backstories, and then kind of go from there, because we've talked about starting small, like just start
Micro.
with micro to macro, and that's the way I like to do it, because I have ADD and
Yep.
I don't have the brain power to always have at least at level 1, know what everything in the world's doing. So I'll just kind of build it with the players at that point. But Kyle, would you do anything different?
Yeah, so this is actually pretty different.
What?
So I do like to start the way you said that you start with the lore dump. And that is something that we did a little bit with this. I did go more detail for mine. And a lot of that, listeners, is, again, we didn't want to have you guys go through a lot of repeat scenarios with just a different outcome, a lot of the same work.
Yeah.
Shay and I actually struggled with that quite a bit because we wanted to go through our full process with it, but we realized that after 20 minutes of the same discussion, that's quite boring. So we didn't want to subjugate you guys to that. So then past that, though, I actually don't take my own advice every time. When I tell myself this is the order in which I'm going to do this, that's exactly what I'm not going to do. That's not the order the ideas will come to me. So my spin up time from that lore dump is quite long. And then really after I've created the world, that's my favorite part, is I have this world. This is how everything interacts. This is the cities. I planned out, I think, like 23 different cities before my party set foot in one. And
Accurate.
because I overplan. And so my recommendation, of course, has always been don't do that. And because it is a little bit crippling, because then I want to go to all. After that, after I've made all these cities, I carve out my favorites, and then the rest go into the idea pile. And I really actually kind of, the names stay the same, but like how deeply I built them out, I kind of rip that out of what I give to the party. And then I build I choose my deity structure next, and then I pick my plot.
Oh, there you go.
And then once we're in the plot, really, I have what I now do, which is different than what I did do, is I'm really focused on what they're currently in and what's the immediately next big plot thread.
Yep.
And then what the final plot thread is.
And how did those two correlate, kind of?
I have loosely in my mind how I would connect them. And that way I can lay those threads. What I have found is the party does a great job of connecting them, but it's very rarely how I would connect them, even though that there's been time that my parties said like it felt like all roads led here. And my answer to that has always been, well, that's really funny because this is actually not where the roads were trying to lead us.
Like there are times for me, and this is probably something that would drive most DMs nuts. There are times where if I ever get just a minute or hour, 2 hours, however much time I have, I will sit in my thinking chair and I will have my favorite drink and a notepad or my laptop, and I will just slowly stare into madness. And my brain will just kind of wander off, and it will go and grab this idea and bring it back, and it'll grab this idea and it'll bring it back. And you know, like we kind of talk about like parking lot things where you're going to come back to it.
Yeah.
Mine turns into a parking garage because there's levels to this of like, this one's for deities, this one's for lore, this one's for NPCs, this is for big bad evil guys. Like there are levels to this.
Yes.
And sometimes they intermix and sometimes they just don't. But it's just really fun sometimes. And I'll even like put on some like soft like background movie music and just let my brain just like slip into madness, and it's kind of fun.
So a lot of my ideas for stuff, I've rewritten my campaign. And when I say rewritten, like reordered major plot threads several times and erased several of them. Like when I say erase, I didn't get rid of it forever. I took it out of what I'm going to do for this one.
Yeah.
And I put it into like, I think that would be a fun idea for some other campaign lot. And then I've brought some back in a few times just based off of, because I like to, when I have that next thread in mind and I start to unveil it to the party in game, I really pay attention to like, how is this hook working? How is this landing? There's been hooks I've tossed out that like, it didn't take.
Yeah.
And that's not a good feeling as a DM when your hook doesn't take. I'm now more used to it and I don't panic.
Yeah.
Now it's pivot and it's like maybe use this other hook for this other idea thread. My end goal of what the campaign will be and what the next thread is hasn't changed, but how we get there has, and the roads along the way has, and the who has. I had, well, now twice, characters that I had a lot planned for who aren't in the party anymore for various reasons, and all good, and I'm very happy for them, but they're not there anymore, and it's like, well, darn it, you were going to drive a lot of this. And then I've had other characters that's just like where the things I thought would matter to them,
They didn't.
yeah. I had one who, based on the description of his character and the backstory of his character, there was stuff I put out there that I was like, guaranteed, right, this is going to be a major hook, he's going to want to do this. I had a choice for my party here at the start of this season 3 of to stay on the continent that we're currently on, where we've been for 2 years now in real time.
Yep.
Or to go back to the OG continent and answer all these open plot threads.
Yep.
And I put some hooks in there that I thought for sure would take us there. And that's where I wanted to go.
The party said,
We're staying.
Exactly.
and I had a feeling, because it was like I didn't want to stay, and so I had a feeling that, and the right answer was to not railroad it and to let them choose, and so that was the right thing to do, and this will be the right story for my party and this campaign. I'm 100% bought into that.
Absolutely.
So I'm not going to take away their answer and send us back. We may not go back. We could. There's an ending to this that will hit the major thread I want to hit that has us not go back. Will I be sad? Yes, because there's major character stuff that I really wanted to do. And so I'm still hopeful that we get back there, but I'm not going to force it.
Oh, I'm sure they will at some point.
Yeah.
I have full faith that they'll get there sometime.
And it's, but this is, and I've told my party this, the final season as I run seasons. It'll be the longest season.
Yep.
But this is the final season of the campaign. This is the last arc that I have written for it, and it will wrap up with a bow. And I don't think we will revisit this again, because if it goes even the way I've loosely thought it out, it'll wrap it up. But again, like what was hard for me about writing this module was I really want the players to drive the middle marks between. I plan the points, like point A and point Z.
Yep.
But then like you don't have to go B, C, D, E. You can go C, D, E, B. And
I was going to say Z, P, Q, X,
yeah.
Why go in order? That's no fun.
Yeah. There's stuff like, again, like what we said at one point in season 2 is like, they can do this out of order and be harder. I've had that idea several times in our campaign, but also there's been times where it's like, okay, when I thought of it, it was like, we'll go here, then there. But then as they were talking it through, I was like, well, that's clearly opposite.
Right.
Like, because now I'm hearing their thought process. And so it's like, all right, I am going to swap these difficulty levels, not events.
Yeah.
But difficulty levels, because like it felt like I missed in my planning. Because it's like, as I was hearing them talk it out, I was like, no, they're right. This is the story.
Yeah.
I've never felt like what they concluded wasn't the story.
Right.
I've never felt like, man, they made the wrong choice.
No.
There's been times I was let down, like not let down, momentarily disappointed, because it's like, oh man, I planned so much for over there.
Yeah.
But again, it always felt like the right choice. I was always happy with it. But I don't want to say I'd planned for the next session because I do plan further beyond that. But like that is the majority of my focus is next session, next major moment. And then based on that and keeping the end goal in mind, I then form the next major.
I think for me also, in somewhat of correlation with that, I like to keep a massive like Google Doc or not Google Doc, Excel sheet.
Yep.
Basically a big Excel sheet of names, but it's broken down by NPCs, buildings, towns, like kind of breaking it down that way. And then what I'll do is like I'll have, let's say for example, think of like columns with me, right?
Yep.
It'll be like race, name, and a blank. And the blank will be where did you use that? So it's kind of a mental note for me, like, oh, you ran into such and such at the tavern in blah, blah, blah town. You know, for me, it's a quick reference. I can have a name real quick. I don't have to think about it. And then I can write it down exactly where I had it. And then, you know, notes that would go along with that character. So like it to me, that's the only way I would really stay organized in a homebrewed character type situation.
Yep.
And then that way I'm kind of Johnny on the spot. Like I don't have to sit there and be like, oh, I know a name. Like there's a name, I had it. I'm like, bang, 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 boom, here we go.
Yeah, I did a real bad thing. And I did it twice. I didn't learn from my mistake the first time. I hope I learned from it this time.
There's 3 levels on the castle. We get it.
No, I mean, that was a real bad thing. That's not this one, though. I haven't done that one.
No, you haven't.
I changed my note structure significantly. Core technology choice changed twice.
I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah, I started off, so I'm a Samsung guy. I have Samsung everything. I started off using Samsung Notes, and it wasn't that I had a problem with it. It was great. I wanted to change my structure to I didn't want to be on the computer during the game. And so I switched to handwritten notes. So problem, I have half my notes in Samsung Notes and the other half now in a physical notebook. I ran out of space on the physical notebook, and so then I changed again. So now I'm still taking game notes on a physical notebook, but then I'm tracking the world and plot and major events and characters on Trello.
Yep.
And I love doing that because I have my swim lanes for everything, and it made it really easy to make it feel like these people are doing stuff even when they're out of view, because when I reconcile my notes after a session, I go on there and I'm like, all right, this is how the party advanced. Now I kind of look at it and say, how do these guys?
Right.
One thing I have yet to do, and I keep saying I need to do, and I never take the time to do, is I need to go back to that previous notebook and my Samsung Notes and get that all into the one location on Trello.
Yeah.
Because there are character names from season 1 and the first half of season 2 that I do actually dread them coming back up. Because they're locations or NPCs, because it's going to be a lot harder for me to reference back to them because they're not in my current notes. They're in one of the old notes.
Hey, I mean, I guess that's what we get to do at the end of season 2. We get to compile all of our notes and get it all put together, right?
Yes, going retroactive, and I am so bad. Listeners, don't get discouraged by that. I get so excited for what's coming that's what I want to work. Looking back is fun in reminiscing moments when I go to actually sit down on my computer. I'm like, but I could plan ahead. I could flesh this out more. I could work on this.
It's the discipline of like actually going back, like, no, we're going to organize everything so that way we can be better going forward. Yeah.
Yep. And it's 100% worth it, listeners. Like, do not think that I'm belittling that. I need to do it. I just have not.
I agree with that too. And I'm planning to do that myself. A lot of my stuff is just recorded audio. So, and I do that a lot for me because I remember stuff better if I listen back to it versus like reading over my notes.
Yep.
And that's just my learning style. There's nothing wrong with taking notes. My notes are okay as long as I remember where I put them. It's just like if I hear it again, that's where my brain's like, okay, I know that.
Yep.
And we can go on.
I'm weird. I work on computers all day, every day. That is literally my job.
Same.
And to this day, taking a note, typing onto a keyboard does not do the same thing for my brain as if I take a note writing it. And it's not that I re-reference my written notes a lot. It's that by writing it, somehow that helps with the retention. It just does for me. And I write cursive, so it's not something that's not like I can take these notes and give them to somebody else because I have terrible handwriting no matter what, and then add up on that I write in cursive, and they're literally for me.
I get it.
And
Yep, I get it.
I think I've invented different takes on the cursive alphabet.
Are you sure that's the letter E? I'm not. Anyway,
E's the easy one. It's this little loop.
that's what I'm
But-
saying. Are you sure?
Maybe. And E or an R. It's very unclear.
That's fair.
But I take that note handwritten and then I retain it better so I don't need to reference it as much.
Mm-hmm.
The Trello aspect of it, what I love of it is, like you were saying with your Excel spreadsheet, that quick reference point, but
Yep.
also all the additional stuff you can do, like within my Trello cards, and they're not all treated equal. I haven't spent the time and love on every NPC that I did on like the big bads or the significant allies where I really flesh it out. And then some of them I have like note references, like where I just make references to other Trello cards or I make reference to like my world docs that I did work out large note sections for. And those are quick referenceable for me on Google Docs. I know those like the back of my hand at this point. Also, a difference between season 2's work and my work is we were time box limited to our like 1 hour sessions that we were working on this. And when I sit and do this and I really do it, it's like I lose
3 hours.
Yeah, I lose track
Easy.
of time.
Easy, yeah.
Yeah, and I have a hard time coming back out of it. And there was definitely days for me going through season 2 that I felt like I was just hitting my creative stride
Yeah.
and we were at time.
Yeah.
And so like that was something that I also had to work on. Is like, okay, how do I get into the zone was season 2, whereas like I may spend 4 hours working on the same amount of content and trying to get to that same end goal when I'm working through it, but also being a lot less focused, because as listeners, you've probably caught on now for both Shay and I, neither one of us are great, particularly at here's the topic, we're only going to do that topic.
Wait. There's only one topic?
According to the title, but never to the practice.
I know. I'm going to jump in for a second. And I think for me, this is something that I enjoy doing. And I don't remember where I found this. I think this was on like a Facebook forum and somebody provided a Google Doc for it. But there is a document that I found, and it is basically a government worksheet. So
What?
literally it's like name of town. What type of government is this? Is this a monarchy? Is it a democracy? Like blah blah blah. Like how many shops are in it? It literally goes like to the T. Like what is it about this town A that is weird, that is awesome, that's quirky? Like goes through all of that. Sometimes it's really fun to go through some of those because we don't always necessarily think about it, because like you and I, we live in the States, right?
Yep.
We're used to our form of democracy.
Yep.
Right.
It seems just like, why would it be any other way to us?
But like if we were to go across the pond to say England, where they have the queen or the king or whatever, like the
Parliament.
monarchy, that's a completely different type of government than it is over here. And I'm just like picking on them because that was the first one that came to mind. But like we're used to a certain type, and so like having to think outside the box and say, okay, no, this is a more of a socialistic versus a capitalistic society. This is more of a monarchy type society versus a democratic type thing. It goes through all these things, but learning how to do that and then getting yourself into the art of role playing that specific kind will help in immense ways as well, I think.
Oh yeah, and you'll find yourself. So I recently, for my campaign, had the party was in a town, or still is, in a town that is clergy ran. Like the clergy is the religious leader, but also the town leadership is the clergy.
That's law. Yeah.
Yeah, they were very strict. There's no weapons allowed in the town. Everybody was very like pro this, and the military leadership even bowed to the clergy. At one point, they kind of made frenemies with a member of the clergy, and he charged him with stuff, gave him a charge, and they went to the military, and they was like, well, if the clergy said that, that's what you're doing.
Right.
And like that was the first really of my town, because like I said before that like this town has a lord over it, and maybe they ended up having a conversation with that lord or lady, but it never really changed how my town worked.
Right.
until this one. And admittedly, the party kind of speed ran the town a little bit. And that's sometimes the fun and also sometimes the drawback of it really being party led, what they do within a town. Of course, on my paper, we spend an entire session interacting with the town where in reality, the party's like, no, we are really hooked on this plot thread right now. We're chasing it down and I'm not going to stand in their way. And so there's a lot of stuff that I planned for that didn't actually happen, but getting to really think through like, what does that mean? How does that impact a town? What different laws then would we have? What expectations? How does that change? What the definition of rowdy is different, because it's not like stuff that we're okay with in more democracy of like, hey, speaking your different view is of course acceptable, but then there it's like, what do you mean a different,
like how dare you speak other than what the clergy said or whatever?
It's like you can do that if you don't live here,
right?
Like that's your choices.
I'll be honest with you too, when I'm just kind of thinking about everything and doing that, I use percentile dice more than I do in actual sessions.
That's fair to make choices.
What's the odds that this somebody will do this? 78%. All right, yeah, they'll probably do that. Or 37%. I'm gonna go with no. Most of the time, I guess it's probably a 50-50 split. But sometimes I'm like, based on what I've written so far, there's probably a 60% chance that it's more like the economic divide might be higher or lower. It just kind of depends on what's going on in that town. So
I use the percentile dice to kind of tell me like what's the base health of this, or is it a thriving? And so like I had this idea of a clergy-led town, and based off of, and I wasn't actually going to implement it at this point in my campaign, but we were introducing a new cleric to the party, so it was like easy time to bring in this cleric-led town. This clergy-led town, and try to make it feel natural. We're also introducing a paladin, so it makes sense that he would choose to stop here.
Makes sense to me.
So I knew it was going to be clergy-led, and honestly, in my head, I was thinking like, all right, yeah, decent size town. They're kind of well-to-do. Rolled really bad on the percentile dice for the health of the town. So I was like, okay, no, they're under siege by the orcs that are running rampant throughout the countryside after the failed invasion. And like they literally came up and the outer wall was easily part of it was brought down by our fighter leaning against it.
Yep.
That's their state, because rolled like a 9 on the percentile dice, not a 90. Like
9.
I first glanced at, but I was like, oh wait, no, that's just a 9.
That's a 9.
Yep. So it unfortunate, but that's the also made for kind of an interesting dynamic, because then I had still the clergy was grand, and the many members of the clergy serving there, but then it was immediate that first ring around the clergy, very healthy, thriving. Next ring,
not
very
so much.
And so that's also something we really didn't. We brought it in some. You heard it in the podcast.
Yeah.
But I think in my planning process, a lot more. All right, I want this town. They're coming to it. It's not one of my major ones. So, all right, dice for this, dice for that. And here I pre-picked out clergy-led, but sometimes I'll even roll dice to help me determine what is it Lord Lay, because I kind of have this is what's most common in this country.
Is this a patriarchy versus versus a matriarch?
A big thing for me is I want to know the town's base motivations, or how am I going to play the people.
Yeah.
So general feel of are they pro the core government of the country that we're in? Are they anti? Are they neutral towards it?
Yeah.
Are they inward focused about it? It doesn't bug us, so we don't care.
Right.
Are they outward focused about it? They haven't done anything to improve us lately.
Yeah.
All that is dice decision for me, unless it's one of my major towns and it's a major plot thread moment. Correct. And then I'm much more intense.
All right. So I think that kind of gives you guys a glimpse into what we've been kind of thinking with the last 22 episodes. Thank you guys for letting us kind of get that out there. I think we took a chance on it, and I think it was a good endeavor overall. I think there were times where, maybe we got a little off tangent, and we do apologize for taking our tangents a little bit too far maybe at times, but thank you for letting us at least get that base campaign out there to kind of show newer DMs, and maybe, DMs who haven't done this in a long time, how to actually homebrew something versus just taking a campaign module and running that. And there's nothing wrong with, there's no shade in that.
Yeah, we've both done it and will do
Still
again.
doing.
Yeah.
But, it's good to kind of see the other side of things. And I mean, like I said earlier, I'm planning on homebrewing something coming up for season 2 once we get to that point. And hopefully I'll be able to put my money where my mouth is. We'll see it in real time. I mean, will it be perfect? No,
No.
but I think it's going to be fun. And I think you're going to really love the characters that I'll bring with me, and we'll go from there. So speaking of that,
The future.
it is about time to land season 2 Electric Boogaloo
Yep.
on the tarmac. So let's kind of give the listeners here what's that going to look like. For now, we're going to take a break. We had initially talked about coming back at the beginning of the year, and that would give us a chance to implement a few things. We were looking at potentially really kind of upping our audiovisual type premises. But I think at this time, unfortunately, due to circumstances outside of podcasting and just life in general, our break is probably going to have to be a little bit longer. And we're going to miss you guys. We enjoy doing this for you guys. We enjoy just doing, getting to hang out and nerding out and play, talking D&D. Just with life in general right now, it's just going to be a little tough for a while. So bear with us. We're hoping to get back into the swing of things as soon as we can, but it will probably be longer than what we were anticipating. So stay tuned. We will try and actually use the social media platforms to keep you guys updated, throw some content out there when we get a chance to, stay active and going in that direction. So,
and listeners, every episode we've ever made will continue to be available. We are committed to that. This is a hiatus, not a exit.
correct.
So we do plan on coming back to you guys in one way, shape, or another. So be on the lookout. The easiest way to make sure that you know when an eventual possible season 3 or whatever is next for Shay and I in this podcast run with DMT or more that we would seek to do is to subscribe.
Yep.
That way you can see the episode drops. Also, always, even when we're not dropping episodes, the email is still available, dungeonmastertalk@gmail.com. We've said a lot, but guys, it is real. Like, we very much loved and cherished every email we ever got from a listener. This is something Shay and I have immensely loved doing. And this, again, it is a hiatus, not an end. And we do plan on coming back and bringing you guys more good D&D content, Pathfinder content, all that. We do appreciate that you guys have been with us this far. It has been a heck of a ride. Like I've said before, neither Shay and I imagined anyone would ever listen to us.
Except for us.
Yeah. we knew we would listen. but we just thank everyone who's ever downloaded this. You guys are the real stars. And we are so grateful. So if you've enjoyed this, if you've liked this at all, we normally ask to hit us up on the socials, and please still do that. But if you've liked it all, and you could share this with just one friend who's maybe considered being a DM, or maybe even just wants to hear what kind of goofball would really like D&D that much, if you shoot them one of our episodes, that'd be greatly appreciated.
Yeah.
And again, everyone, this is, life happens, and we want to take this pause to just focus on life. And this goes back to the core rule of my D&D group, which is life before D&D.
Correct.
We're putting both of our money where our mouth is there and making sure that we embody that.
Yeah.
But we love each of you guys, and we can't wait to talk to you again.
So for all of us here at Dungeon Master Talk, I'm Shay.
And I'm Kyle.
And we will see you guys next time. Bye, y'all.
Bye, guys.
Peace.